This place wants us dead.
What could have done that?
There must be a bear.
A bear did that.
I found only one set of prints. Large, 20 inches across.
I do not believe it is an animal we battle.
Not a man, not a bear. Then what?
It's the ice, Georgie. It's only the ice.
Welcome to
Ice Cold,
the Double P Podcast Network's look at AMC's The Terror, based on the novel by
Dan Simmons.
This is what AMC is calling an anthology show, a.k.a. meaning it'll be one story, one season, one story the next. We are tackling Season 1, Episodes 1 and 2. First episode entitled Go for Broke, and Episode 2 entitled Gore. R.I.P. Gore. My name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Goodreads at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on social media.
On all those things. And I am Catfish. I'm a little bit harder to find. You can only find me on Twitter at CJGman67.
Now, we are going to be covering this first season because we both read the book. We want you to know that we don't intend to have any spoilers for this first season of The Terror in this podcast.
Right.
But no, there are some spoilers on Wikipedia. There are some spoilers that can be out there, and obviously you can go read the book. You can read about the real-life story, which this is inspired by, about these two ships, the Terror and the Erebus. Catfish, what were you going to say about that, and what were your thoughts on Dan Simmons' novel, The Terror?
Well, first I was going to say there's a spoiler also in the first 2 minutes of the first episode where they're all dead, and they were followed by Tuunbaq.
Good old Tuunbaq. We're going to have to get to him, but what were your thoughts on the novel?
TB. The novel, like the series, is a survivalist story that has a supernatural edge to it. What I remember, even before the supernatural edge came in, is how stark the lives they described were in great detail. I mean, these people are stuck on the ice in the middle of nowhere. As we see in the show, they're not just stuck, but they're in the freezing cold. They have more and more dwindling resources. It's like a true life horror tale, even without the supernatural. To put yourself in that spot, desperation, kind of at the end of the world without any help. I mean, it is just the description of the life was horrifying and so beautifully captured in the novel. It was a great novel. I remember my sister, who's not like a big reader or into horror at all, read it and was fascinated by it. I mean, it is so beautifully drawn, and that you feel the desperation, and even at the beginning it seems desperate, and then it just becomes more and more desperate, even without the supernatural part.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to get to right up top. This novel came out in 2007. I'm not going to be able to remember back 11 years ago when I read it so well, the finer points of the novel. But one thing I said on the preview podcast is, to me, the novel starts up great. And it starts up guns blazing. They are in trouble. They've already been trapped in the ice.
Yes, exactly.
When this novel starts.
Exactly.
And on the preview podcast, I said that it begins with an incredibly scary, tense action beat. I misremembered that. I did not remember that correctly because I went back and looked.
Uh-oh, spoiler alert.
The intense action beat isn't the first chapter. It comes a bit in, but it's very there at the beginning. And at the beginning, once again, the start of the novel, they are trapped in the ice, and this thing we're going to get to know real well. Our buddy Tuunbaq is already caused TB. He's already caused an awful lot of trouble. So these first two episodes, Go for Broke, Episode 1, and Gore, Episode 2, I'm going to only give them 7 double T's out of 10.
Double T's?
Well, double T's. Now, this isn't a spoiler for The Terror. It's a spoiler for the great documentary Grizzly Man. And that is, I'm giving it 7 Timothy Treadwells out of 10. Because old Mr. Gore there, Graham Gore, he got grizzlied, man. Or he got polared, man. Or he got Tuunbaqed, man. Oh, man. 7 out of 10. So the fact that they're taking this time to set up. I think it actually is hurting the dramatic flow. I think they should do like the novel, just have started right when everybody's in deep trouble, and then flashback to you could do flashbacks to see how they got there. These moments there in the first episode, I thought there were two really great scary scenes. In the second episode, there was the one where Tuunbaq attacks, but I kind of need more of those. There is some great quiet drama. There's great master and commander type drama in this. But for me, especially to start off a new series, I needed a bit more of the jolts, and maybe that's because I read the novel. I apologize. But 7 out of 10, still pretty good. Still looking forward to the 8 remaining episodes. What is your ranking out of 10, Catfish?
All right. I am going to give this what I like to call 8 double C's.
Double C's?
Yes. Double C is a term we use when we say we are calmly consumptive. And that is when you get consumption and you're at sea.
As you do.
Just relax, because at least you'll die from the consumption and not by eaten by a supernatural creature.
Polar bear.
Now, well, yeah, I mean,
so 8 out of 10. You're very you're very high on this, Catfish.
It's funny that you remember the book as starting off with a lot of action, whereas
just one action scene. I remember.
Right, but what I remember from the book was, that to me, I don't remember the supernatural coming on so strong so early, and that was what was just so powerful about it. And what you see in the show here is, if you really allow yourself to be put in that same position they are and think of yourself back in this time, you're stuck in the ice. I mean, we see, we'll go through this episode by episode, but, they think, oh, this is going to be easy. And what we should say here is they don't really kind of cover this. But the basic idea behind them trying to find this Northwest Passage was because to ship goods, you had to go all the way down south. You had to go all the way around the Cape. So it was like really a long direction. So they thought, and this is back in the time when, people were like, you're famous, explorers were famous. So they thought they're going to find this Northwest Passage. They're going to map it out. In their great brains, they thought, we just got to find the right spot. It's not frozen all over. We just got to find the right spot. We're going to use this awesome 18th century technology.
Oh boy,
we're going to break up this ice. We're going to use some dynamite to blow up just a few parts that we may need to, and then we'll find a much quicker route for our trading. So that's why they decided to do this. What we would think now is a just super insane idea.
Not good, Her Majesty.
No. I just thought that, and maybe it's because I have the backstop of the book, I'm just kind of enjoying seeing this. It's the other thing is, though, and obviously they kind of want to get more and more into it, it really feels like, and even when they start to get into the second episode and they're like, well, 8 months later, it kind of feels like...
Whoops, where'd those go?
It feels like we're not getting the true sense of how bad it is. How much stuff can you really... I presume they kind of pack for, like I said, they expect 2 years, whatever, but it's not great. It's not great. Well, they say, oh, summer's here. It's 0 degrees. So you know what? It's not like
hit the beach.
It's not like there's space heaters in their berths. This has got to be freaking cold. So maybe now that I think about it, they're not doing such a great job of making it seem as desperate as I can imagine it had to be. Whereas in the book, I really felt like you had a sense even at the beginning, like,
well, in the beginning, once again, the beginning of the
cow.
book, they've been trapped in this ice for a while. Let's get to some of the captains and crews, Catfish. And I want to know, which members are you going to put on your double C?
My double C?
Your Catfish crews. Which one of these people are you liking? Which one are you hating? Which ones are you kind of mixed feelings about? Because I have some names. I have some people who already, I'm like, yeah, I kind of like these people. And then I have some people who are like, you frigging idiot. And then I have some people in between.
All right. So you want my Catfish crew? You want the good guys?
Yeah, whoever comes up first. Let's see if your good guy, if your good crew matches my good crew.
All right. Well, I think my number one good guy, he doesn't like to brag too much. He doesn't consider himself a doctor. He just considers himself a surgeon. And you know that he's a good guy because his name is improbably Goodsir. And that is our doctor who won the expedition. And then
he's not a doctor. He's just a surgeon.
Right. Sorry. He's a surgeon. But you know what he's not good at? Sled pulling. He is really super weak at sled pulling.
When I was at Cambridge, they didn't have that. Yeah, no, I like Mr. Collins. I like Mr. Goodsir a lot. Mr. Collins I also like. So who is Mr. Goodsir? Who is Mr. Collins? I call them, Mr. Goodsir is the guy with the bushy mutton chops, while Mr. Collins is the other guy with the bushy mutton chops. So Mr. Goodsir, why do I like him? In the first episode, he was trying to cheer up dying David. He may have been giving this poor guy named David Young, who ended up dying of that consumption in the first episode, he might have been selling him a bill of goods, but I still like the fact that Mr. Goodsir was trying to make this guy's final moment.
Well, and also he wanted to honor the guy's last wishes so that he not be cut open. I mean,
whoops.
Hey, look, he's not going to know. What we didn't see
that's
was
like
whether
pouring
he
some of the lemon. I don't think he got it. Remember, after they buried the guy, he made this. Mr. Goodsir made this gesture towards his finger. Now he's wearing gloves, so I don't know if he got it or not. Maybe he's wearing it. But I would say, when you're like, okay, I won't cut you, unless Sir John tells us to. I thought, that's like pouring that lemon juice on David Young's wounds. And remember, lemon juice was how they were going to fight scurvy.
Right, exactly.
So, Mr. Goodsir, he also, once again, I told him I said he might have been selling poor David Young a bill of goods. He's like saying this thing, I've heard that when death comes, a great peace descends. That didn't seem to happen to David Young too much, did it?
We didn't. He got scared by an Eskimo.
That's how it's written in the closed captions, Eskimo with that X. He's Cajun Eskimo.
Yeah.
But Mr. Goodsir also...
you got to worry about when you're in the ice.
What?
Gators.
Cajun Eskimos. But Mr. Goodsir also, in the second episode, he's trying to rescue that poor Eskimo who they accidentally shot. Oh, my Lord. Ends up may have caused trouble bringing him back and not letting him die in the air. Oh boy.
Well, it's they haven't spelled it out yet, but if you listen carefully, it sounds like our good old boy TB Tuunbaq might have had something to do with the Eskimo because our dead Skimo's daughter says, "I'm not ready to deal with Tuunbaq yet."
Oh yeah.
So we have the pieces put together
they're dropping it.
That Tuunbaq has something to do, is maybe has some sort of synchronicity with the Eskimo that's going to make it bad for the whiteys in town. I like how she says you got to leave. They're like, yeah, where? Where we got to go?
Sure thing. Why didn't they just pull out Waze? They're trying to find the Northwest Passage. Just go to Waze, Google Maps, do it. All right, so another guy I'd want on my crew is Mr. Collins. He has a bigger role in the first episode. He's the guy who wants to jump overboard when the one sailor is knocked from the crow's nest and falls in. He wants to jump in and save him. And Mr. Collins, later in the episode, he's the one who has that great deep sea diving expedition. That was pretty good. That was a pretty good, tense moment. Those are the moments I love. I kind of wish the early episodes had more. Obviously, they're going to save some. The big explosions are going to come and I don't mean the ice breaking explosions, but the big plot explosions and tough moments are going to come as the episodes go on. But
now another guy that was on Catfish's crew.
Oh, let's hear it. Yeah,
but I've got a slight bone to pick with him.
Uh-oh.
It is our boy Cornelius Hickey.
Oh yeah, I like Mr. Hickey's on my crew too.
The guy who likes to, he likes to go down in the stacks and, look for rats along with his other male friends. And he smokes a cigarette really well. My only concern about him is he's in there taking care of the captain's seat of ease or whatever it is. In other words, sealing up the hole.
He's got to caulk it up.
Man. He's got to caulk it up, and then he's also on dog cleanup patrol. But captain, who's not on my good list, Ciaran Hinds.
You mean Sir John?
Yeah, Sir John Franklin, not on my good list. Obviously, is not a fan of the Irish. So, well, he's not with him. He's actually with my boy, Jared Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. I want to hold on for a second because the reason why Mr. Hickey made my crew, Mr. Hickey's on my crew on the Double B, Bubba's boat,
Right.
is because in the first episode, he jumped in and closed the casket. I thought that was a real cool thing to do. You know, here's this guy. They could just shovel. And, of course, he was one man who was suddenly going to have to shovel all this dirt back on top of this guy's grave. But the fact that he jumped into the grave to cover up old David Young's casket, that's when I thought, you know what, Mr. Hickey's cool with me. He's on Double B, Bubba's boat.
Okay, but the one reason why he might get thrown off of Catfish's crew is that when Jared Harris, who's
Francis.
Right, Francis Crozier, he offers our boy a drink, and he only drinks part of it. Now, listen.
Mr. Hickey, down that drink.
Mr. Hickey, you're in there. You're in the captain's quarters, the CC, captain's quarters.
Yeah.
And he offers you a drink. You got to finish that bad boy.
Hell
When's the next time
yeah.
you're going to get a drink? I'm sure that's the good stuff, too. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Give me a break. Anybody else? Listeners, if you want to get on the Double B, Bubba's Boat, or the Double C Catfish Cruise, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Double P Podcast. That's the word double, the single letter P, the word podcast. That's podcast with an S on the end, podcast plural. Facebook.com/Double P Podcast. We want to know which members of this crew you like, which members you may want to make them walk the plank. So, Catfish, I have named the three guys that I really like so far is actor Jared Harris, a.k.a. Francis Crozier, Captain Francis. Is he make your crew? He's got some negatives, meaning that he drinks a lot, way too much, it seems like to me. He's, quote-unquote, lower station in life. He's Irish. Or is he going to make it on your boat because he was right? Dear God, he was right. You don't go sailing up into this ice pack that's going to take the ships.
Look, let's just say that Captain Franklin, Sir John,
oh boy,
was wrong about that staying where they stayed didn't work out. Now, that doesn't mean...
Oh, good point.
...that Jared Harris, a.k.a. Captain Crozier, that his plan would have gotten them out of the ice. It's not clear to me. But all we know is he was very bold, and he said it, and they did a very interesting thing. You know, they do some flashbacks here. Seemed like they were buddies, and Sir John was a cool guy. Then it turns out Sir John, kind of a dick.
Ice cold, Sir John. Let me say, Sir John, on this Ice Cold podcast, we're going to drop some ice cold zingers. And Sir John, when he's there with, I believe the lady was named Sophia, and he's like, Captain Francis Crozier, he would be great for a lot of women, a lot of families, but not us. He'd be great under a different banner than ours. Oh, ice cold.
Ice cold. Oh, but you know what's even worse?
What?
Is then all of a sudden, I don't know why, but Captain Crozier is just hanging right outside the door and he hears it. That is even more ice cold.
I got a couple more ice cold ones because
Let's hear it.
Captain Crozier, he gets a couple back, and he's like, yes, you did journey to the North Pole, and not all your people lived. You freaking zing! Ice cold. Loved it. Anybody else you're not sure about? Anybody else who you want to make walk the plank? Because there's
one other guy.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Who I love. Always, first of all, he's a real good-looking dude, which is funny because when you have good-looking dudes, they don't usually play the weak-ass guys that are you just dislike from the word go.
From the jump, yeah.
And that is our boy, Tobias Menzies.
A great actor.
Playing James Fitzjames, who always, first of all, when you have a guy, that's like the guy's name is like John McJohn. I mean, James.
You're dissing James Fitzjames. These are real names from people who were on the boats.
Yeah, so then they appropriately gave him the Weasley role. This guy is famous for also playing another Weasley role, for another podcast that we do, the Joffrey podcast.
About Game of Thrones and George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. He plays Edmure Tully on that show. I wouldn't say Weasley so much as incompetent at times. But
he's a real suck-up here.
He is a suck-up. But let's get to him, because through 2 episodes, I'm not so sure how much we're supposed to hate him. And I wonder if...
Well, he was trying to already sow mistrust.
Oh, true. He doesn't like Francis Crozier, who we should like because he's a lush, but you know. But the one thing I want to give to him, so yes, he's always sucking up. He's always telling these tales of his bravery.
Oh, my God. Boy, what a blowhard.
But something happened in the second episode where I thought, is this the right attitude? And listeners, I want to know your thoughts. Catfish, I'm going to pitch it to you. In the second episode,
let me hear it.
They have been trapped in this friggin' ice pack for 8 months.
Right.
And they're sending out these, I call them scouting parties. You know, they're looking for flows in all the wrong places, whatever they're looking for. And James Fitzjames, this guy, he was going, hip, hip, hooray. He's somehow trying to keep morale up. Now, what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person you've been trapped on a frigging ship, trapped in an ice pack pretty much for 8 straight months? That's a real terrible life. And then you're getting out. Do you want somebody who's like, you know, not trying to boost some morale? Or do you want somebody like James McBlowhard so far? James Fitzjames, excuse me. I'm calling him back. This is terrible. Or... the fact, call me crazy, the fact that he was trying to keep morale up, I almost kind of liked him in that moment.
Let me pitch this to you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So, we've been stuck. Let's say we've been stuck here. Let's say we're stuck in the studio.
Oh, no.
Right? Somehow we're stuck in the studio for like 4 months.
Okay.
And I don't know what it's like outside. It's a nuclear wasteland. But I say to you...
Can I play soccer out in the nuclear wasteland?
I say to you, Bubba...
Yeah?
I'm going to stay here... and I'm going to send you out the door. And as I send you out the door, I say, you go get him, Bubba. You go get him, Bubba.
Let me say.
You go get him, Bubba. Now, when you walk away, are you like, my God, wasn't that nice that he inspired me? Or do you say, that jackass, he's staying there and has the audacity to try to pump me up?
I'm going to say, Catfish, you son of a bitch. No, I don't know. Maybe I would be pumped. You know, I'm finally getting there to stretch my legs for a bit. I'm finally getting away from this damn boat.
You stretch your legs in you stretch your legs in that nuclear wasteland. All right, I tried to get you to look at it from the guy's point of view.
Okay, well, now let's say, obviously I think James Fitzjames, there's something wrong with him, but he was victim of a couple ice cold. So Crozier, he's telling that story about fighting the Chinese. Francis Crozier goes, tell us about Birdshit Island again. Oh man! And then, hey, wait a minute. As Sir James. So, Sir James, how would you describe him? Just a useless idiot? Because I got to give him one too. When Crozier is getting very angry before they're trapped in the pike.
Right.
Crozier is pitching his plan. Like, look, your boat is damaged. The Erebus is damaged. Terror's okay. You know, let's at least, put yours in some sort of safe bay. Let's take the Terror. I'll get on the Terror and go this other way. And Crozier's getting really angry about it because Fitzjames like, melodrama, dramatic drama. and then Crozier gets real mad. And Sir John suddenly yells, or suddenly says, Crozier, it's good to see the color in your cheeks again. Woohoo! Ice cold!
You know what? You finally turned me. That last story that you said about James Fitzjames really turned me around on him. I think you're right. I think I'll put him on the good side.
All right, so let's just get to some of the big starting points. The episode begins, the very first episode begins with that script of text that comes up and it sets the setting. So in 1845, 2 Royal Navy ships left England in an attempt to finally discover navigable, however you say it.
Navigable?
Thank you. Navigable passage through the Arctic. They were the most technologically advanced ships of their day. They were last seen by European whalers in Baffin Bay, awaiting good conditions to enter the Arctic labyrinth. Both ships vanished. Then we cut to a scene 5 years later where this character who I actually, even though I read the book, had a bit of trouble tracking. So we cut to this tent. It's 5 years later. The main guy asking the Eskimo the questions in this scene is a guy named Sir James Ross, and he's trying to find out, hey, did you hear anything about this ship? Do you know these people? He brings out the 3 pictures of James Fitzjames, Sir John, and Captain Francis, and that's when our good boy Team Tuunbaq first gets dropped. Later, kind of going chronologically, you would jump back before they left on these missions. They're in that opera house. They're seeing these scenes of this kind of, I guess England's great moments in time. Like, look, here's this. And the scene they see is of this guy, Sir James Ross's trip down south, near the South Pole and Antarctica. And they get Sir James to stand up. And Sir James drags Captain Francis to stand up. And then it's interesting, Sir John's wife is like, you should stand up too, Sir John. And you're thinking to yourself, did Sir John do anything? Why is he? We don't know what what Captain Francis did. We later find out in the second episode, I believe, that he was with Sir James on this voyage to the south. But Sir John suddenly stands up, and I wonder if all their trouble really goes back to that. Like at the Opera House, you saw Sir James's trip towards the South Pole and Antarctica. It's getting celebrated in this opera show. Sir John's got nothing. And so he's like, I got to find the Northwest Passage. I got to do something. This old bumbling idiot who, maybe they were doomed either way, but he took them into a way that got trapped in the ice. And so I'm just thinking to myself, is that the root of all the trouble? Is that Sir John didn't get a scene at the Opera House? And so is the real villain actors and performers?
This reminds me of someone who ran for president because they were mocked at a correspondence dinner.
Okay.
It's always leading to disaster.
Damn you, actors. And then, so then we get, let's get into the time. We see that these are miserable, terrible conditions. And this guy, David Young, I keep talking about, he's at dinner when suddenly it didn't go down too good. He's coughing up blood. And this sets up kind of what the first kind of action beat, scary beat. Did you find either the spitting up of blood or his death, which had the vision quest of this Eskimo who seems to die in episode 2? Did you find that frightening at all? This is an episode named The Terror. It's about a horror series. What did you think about that whole section when the guy coughs up blood and then he has this, what I found were kind of very freaky visions and dreams? Scary? What'd you think?
Just based on the book.
Yeah.
And, kind of what we've seen so far, this is not going to be this is going to be not like a horror, but it's going to be more creepy and supernatural and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that fits into the pattern of it. That's the kind of stuff that we should expect a lot of. I guess my problem was just that we didn't get a sense of, even by the end of episode 2, we don't get a sense of their desperation, and I guess that's what they're going to build on more and more. But it seems to me that, I don't know, can you play soccer at 0 degrees? It seems these guys aren't really bundled up. No one's wearing gloves at 0 degrees. Maybe.
Well, what's funny?
You think the real message of this miniseries is that we were tougher back then?
Oh, I bet we were tougher. Yeah, let me say, I bet we were tougher. But I also think if this is May and quote unquote the temperature's risen to 0 degrees, it might suddenly feel very warm, and you might be like, okay, let's go. This death of this, I don't even know what his rank was, even this David Young, who has the consumption, who didn't want the autopsy but had to be given the autopsy. To me,
and we get a nice setup here with the kind of the old school way of looking at things, with the other doctor who's like, whatever, we're just going to open him up and shut up, you don't know anything. And then the younger, kind of more caring guy.
You mean, I don't call him doctor, I call him surgeon, Goodsir.
Yeah, Goodsir. Goodsir, I mean,
let me see his LinkedIn page. Does he say he's a doctor? Remove that. He's a surgeon.
You know how some people's names get changed when they go somewhere? So it's like, you go to a new country and they change your name. I mean, what do you think his original name was? Goodsir?
Right. It's like, okay,
Goodsir. Fine.
All right. So then we get kind of the next big set piece in the story is that the Erebus has been damaged because in its propeller, and this is one thing to always think about, you see these giant masts, but these ships could move by sail, or they actually have motorized propellers here. And so they have, once again, my guy, Mr. Collins, go down.
You forgot something that is important.
Let's hear it.
What happened was when the ship got stuck when the ice got stuck, the ship kind of shook a little bit, and a guy went overboard.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I think we see something we're going to see over and over again, and that is the captain writing about the death of one of his crew members. So I think he's got like a ledger there. I think we're going to see him by the time this is over. He's going to be filling that ledger up.
Next.
Yeah. But I didn't see our boy David get written down in the book. So.
Oh, that's a good call. I want to get to David's burial in a second,
okay.
but just chronologically, we have my boy Mr. Collins drop down. And to me, this, in the first episode, was the scariest moment. He's down there, and he's trying to, saw this chunk of ice away from the propeller, and he sees is this just him, his fear causing it, or is he actually seeing that guy who fell off the boat coming at him? And it is like, yay, that was like a real, actually kind of creepy, scary moment for me. And I was like, oh.
I guess intercut with the sawing up of your boy.
Yeah, David Young, his autopsy, not good. Well, you know what? We can put on his tombstone, no scurvy. Great list of accomplishments.
He died of something, not scurvy.
I think what's funny is when Mr. Collins, before he goes down on this deep sea expedition, he's like, hey, there's supposed to be a doctor here, in case something happens. And it's that nice morale booster, James Fitzjames, who's like, look, he's right below. Get going.
JFJ, he's our boy.
All right, so continuing on chronologically, the next thing that really happens is, okay, we've had this big fight. We said, don't do this. Crozier pitched his plan. The guys had their plan. No, we follow the captain. Mm-hmm. And they bury this guy who, no scurvy. They bury him. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, is this like wrong? Is this stupid? Is this wasting time to bury him when this is September? The ice is going to form and pack sooner or later.
Well, think about it. It's crazy.
Spending any time to bury this guy might be a mistake. Let's go.
First of all, they had to take a little boat.
Yeah.
To get to the shore here.
Right. There are no piers or no docks in this crazy land. So,
haven't they heard of the famous term burial at sea?
Right. They've already buried one guy at sea. That poor guy fell off the crow's nest. But once again, this allows Mr. Hickey, my boy, to prove that he's cool because he goes down and closes the casket. But knowing what happens later, I'm like, boy, if you hadn't spent... even say this takes half a day to do, that's another half a day that you haven't got further along. Now, admittedly, we see there's no way they weren't going to get hit in his eyes back.
I haven't looked at this.
Okay.
I haven't really looked in detail, but I'm pretty sure the Northwest Passage is still. People get through it.
Yeah.
But
nowadays, Are you kidding me? No, they had no prayer, but still.
That's what I'm saying. They had no prayer. They could have spent 3 weeks over here. Why not?
Bury the guy for 3 weeks.
Listen, what they should have done was not go anywhere, because the closer that you stay to where you are, the shorter it is to get back home when you just say, well, this is insane. Let's just turn around and go home.
Does this make you want to visit like Iceland, Catfish, or
No.
Hudson Bay, or any of these places far north? Yeah, no, me neither. Listeners, we're here in Los Angeles, and you see this show, which I think it looks pretty beautiful considering it was filmed in Budapest, which is not near the Arctic Circle in any way. Mm-hmm. But I think they're doing a great job with effects. They built these great claustrophobic ships and cabins.
You just can't even imagine. Even now to think like, okay, there's this many people on the ship. How much food, how much supplies, how much tobacco, how much booze, all the stuff that they have to keep for all these guys. Think about how much you eat in a year.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Are you saying I've gained weight?
I have. So anyway, with this really nice at the end of what's technically the first episode, and it's like, all right, well, we are stuck.
Yeah, and did you like Sir John saying, keep your, even Sir John's like, sell it, guys. It's a happy stuck.
Yeah, look, remember how we all signed up for adventure?
Right.
Yeah, frozen in the ice for 8 months. Adventure!
That wasn't on the brochure.
So their whole idea here when they start the second episode is, okay, we're going to send people out in all the different directions. It's technically summertime now. Woo!
Summertime.
So we're going to go and see, instead of just keeping on, using our dynamite and blowing shit up, we are going to go see in which direction the ice has been breaking up because of summer conditions. So they send people in all directions. That'd be north, south, east, and west.
I really hope they didn't send anybody north. Hey, let's see if the ice is breaking up north here.
Well, they send them at least east and west.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure south.
And south, that's true.
Yeah.
And they go to these thing called cairns. I hope I'm saying it correct. It's these places, and this is they mentioned in the book, in real life from history, they build these kind of stone statues, if you will, these stone pillars, so that they could leave messages to each other, because so many people there were fishermen doing the, hunting these waters. There were other ships patrolling this because the Queen's Navy would certainly protect Canada at this time. Right,
and it's interesting because they show them writing on one that's printed out paper that's not in English.
Yeah, it's in old-timey. Yeah, some of the words aren't in English. That's exactly correct. And so they go to this cairn, and our boy, I almost said doctor, but I am trying to keep myself from doing it. Mr. Goodsir, he's trying to be a member of the team. This is such a caste system where, because he is a surgeon, he probably would have never been required to pull the boat, right?
Oh, no.
There's always these other bums, and he wants to join in and help.
He does say, look, it's been a little bit, 3 days. Maybe I can pull a little bit. And he does. How about
the first day he goes? First day he goes, I think I might help you guys. Second day, you know what? I'm going to help you guys in a bit. Third day, he's like, you guys aren't tired.
I wanted him to see like 5 minutes afterwards. Okay, I'm good now. Let's swap back. And now, in the middle of this, on their trip to the cairn, we see a discussion. At this point, we don't realize how much John Franklin has dissed Francis Crozier. No. But John Franklin's trying to make amends. He's like, I came to you. I crapped in your toilet, and I noticed that there was a breeze. I just want to say it would help if I say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Crozier's like, he knows how this game is played. He's risen up despite the fact that
he's Irish,
that he's filthy Irish. And he says it's just I like to be on my ship. I miss my ship. If I leave it, I feel like it's going to fall apart. But basically,
they've been trapped.
He gives him the back of his hand. He's like, you know what? No, I don't want to play your reindeer games.
So, should we give a point to Sir John for trying? I mean, he's dissed this guy. He's pretty much told Sophia, you can't marry this Irish bum. But he, at least at this moment, after 8 months, you haven't come and visited my ship.
Because when your boy, JFJ, attacks Crozier...
James Fitzjames,
baby. Yeah, JFJ... When he attacks Crozier, Sir John does defend him. He says, he's my second, and if something happens to me, you'll be his second. So, nut up. So he is sort of, I feel like he thinks sort of differently about people in the field. He does say, look, I want people to say what they think.
Yeah, I like that about Sir
John, I would
John
think
too.
that in the field, he seems to be respectful of other people's opinions and isn't like no one can say anything, obviously, because Crozier's banging on the table and he takes it.
Sorry, Catfish, I want to piggyback on that and say so many of what you would call the grunts, they're like, I don't want to disappoint Sir John. I don't want to disappoint Sir John. So these guys really, thus far, really do look up to him. David Young, who died of non-scurvy in the first episode, he's like, okay, if Sir John wants my body cut up. These people really did look up to him.
He says, don't tell him I was afraid at the end. No, I'm going to tell him you were a chicken shit, and then we're going to cut you into little pieces.
Maybe he said we don't have to waste half a day burying you.
Now, this is sort of a spoiler alert for people who don't know basically how some of these expeditions ended up and how something happens in this book. I mean, when you're out there and, it's frozen, so that means if anything dies, it doesn't spoil. And you run out of food.
Oh yeah.
Do you think we're gonna get to that in this? Because I believe that that has happened in some cases where it happened with that famous. Didn't it happen to that soccer team that got the plane went down in the Andes?
Right, stuff spoiled.
Stuff spoiled, but the humans in the snow.
They were fresh.
Still delicious.
Catfish will have to see. But this book, even though there are, I hesitate to use the supernatural, but there are kind of supernatural elements to it. But so much of this book is based on fact. And the fact that the one team comes back and they're like, yeah, this canned food spoiled, that is a bit of a sign that there's trouble in non-river city.
Yeah.
In non-moving ice city.
Yeah. I mean, when you have a certain amount of food and then you say to yourselves, well, geez, I guess we're stuck for another 8 months, any spoilage is going to be bad news.
And this is, help me out again, this is May, right? If they don't thaw out and they don't get to water, by September again? They ain't ever getting out. I mean, how much food do they have? I mean, this is ugh.
They're going to have to start do some hunting, and it's the most dangerous game.
Yeah, apparently it's whatever Graham shoots at. Okay, so these guys, the team with non-doctor Goodsir, they go out and, they're doing these things. They're trying to find water. They come back to their boat, and their boat has been effed up. What do you believe the show is trying to imply happened to their boat? Their little boat that they dragged here.
Well, it's funny because someone suspects that a bear couldn't do that, and to me, it seems like a bear could do that. They're trying to say, "Oh, how could a bear possibly do that?" I don't know. Maybe it's
hungry bear.
Yeah, it's maybe it's hangry.
Right? Yeah, they said, "Well, a hangry bear could definitely do that." And
I mean, the good news, bad news here is that. It's actually good news, bad news, good news.
Okay, give me break them each down. I want to hear it.
Okay, well, the good news is is that they don't have to drag the boat back to the ship.
Right.
The bad news is that it's broke, but the good news is they don't need the boat because there's no water around either. So it's good news, bad news, good news.
Right.
So he used to say the good news outweighs the bad news. We don't need this boat, and we don't need to drag it back.
But great news. That's what James Fitzjames is going to say. Hip, hip, hooray!
And I'm going to punch him right in the nuts.
All right, so we have this quiet moment on the boat with Captain Francis, and he's talking to one of his men. I have to be honest, I've lost this man's name, but I think it's the actor Ian Holm playing him, who's famous for, when he, a decade or even more than a decade ago when he was young, he played young John Lennon in some films. He played, spoiler alert for the first Harry Potter film, well, he played Professor Quirrell, and we all know what happened and what Professor Quirrell's situation was. But they're having this moment where they're talking about, remember our past times we were screwed and trapped on this ice, and we brought all these deers out just so we could eat them. We were rowing reindeer so that we could eat them. And
this almost seems like a James Fitzjames story. 'Cause it's got a damn. Are you sure that's not Ian Hart?
Sorry, that's what I meant. It's Ian Hart. Yeah, I messed up the name, but it is Ian Hart. Yeah.
So now we do learn something here that is boat's position.
What's that?
Well, we learn that there's a couple things that can happen when ice builds up around a boat.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them is really bad, and the other one is horrific.
Okay, so the really bad is that the ice, it'll just lift you up, up, and up, maybe 20 feet up.
Right, and if that happens, the darn thing can tip over.
Yeah.
And, then you're in trouble. But that's better than it being shoved down and then you have to abandon it altogether.
Yeah.
Because as we know, it's super warm inside that boat.
What we also learned, though, is Captain Francis, he's not hiding his insubordination of Sir John too well. Like, if other people recognize, you don't really have any faith in Sir John. If your crew can tell you don't care about the person up command from you, that's not a good military situation.
Well, it's not, but also, I mean, these people are not dumb, right? I mean, they
hold on.
They sent the crews out. They came back, and they're like, there's no water everywhere and not a drop to drink because it's frozen, damn it. So they know they're in trouble.
They are in trouble. Let's get back to the group that went out to the island. And it just goes from bad to bad to bad to bad. To say one is worse is maybe understating it. So first, okay, they're there. They've pitched a couple of tents. Next thing you know, hail starts hitting them. And this is big hail.
You were yelling something at them that made complete sense. Okay, and I don't understand how this worked. You said, get under the boat because the boat's solid. Instead, they go inside the tent with the soft tent, and that's fine.
Did you see that giant hail that was coming down?
None of the ice was coming down the tent. I actually thought that old boy TB Tuunbaq was throwing stuff at him at first.
I did too. So these knuckleheads,
they're safe inside the tent, though. Those walls are strong.
Yeah, if it'll protect them from hail, it'll protect them from Tuunbaq. So anyway, they think, okay, maybe it's bears, and they even joke, let's shoot the bear in the head and then have it for dinner. Have it for supper, yummy bear.
Delicious. So they look out, and you don't have to say so far. It's so gray and dark. Like, when people have been seeing stuff here, I haven't seen anything. When people seem to see something, and then I don't see anything. So they have, not only men were hardier back there, but apparently they had a lot of carrots because their eyesight was dang good.
Your eyesight adjusts to the dark,
Mine did not.
Okay, all right. So these knuckleheads, they say, everybody get a gun. They go outside. And the one thing I did see was up in that formation where the ice pack is hitting up against
I didn't see anything.
The island, and it wouldn't be really up. This poor Eskimo who gets shot flashes across. And give it up for our crew. This is a really good shot. Of course, they probably shouldn't have shot him, but it is a good shot through the ice to hit this poor Eskimo. And once again, it goes from bad to bad. We need words worse than worse. It goes from bad to worse to worser to worsest to something beyond worsest. And
I mean, it almost gets to Fitzjames levels.
Wait a minute, JFJ.
A level from 1 to Fitzjames. How screwed are they?
But to me, this was the most effective sequence in either episode. I was tense. I was like, oh, snap.
I would have been more tense if I could have seen anything. I was like, what are they shooting at? I didn't see anything.
Well, they soon found out it was this Eskimo and this female character who is so far the only female in the show that's not in flashback.
The Eskimess.
Oh, boy. No. They, just so you know, in the book, she's named Lady Silence. They tend to call her. I assume the show will pick that up in a second. But when you shoot a native, quote-unquote, the only people who know this land who could possibly help you, that's just another sign that you are...
Fitzjames.
Hip, hip, hooray, you son of And so we finally get to my boy, Tuunbaq. I keep mentioning him because Tuunbaq, the polar bear, he was my favorite part of the book.
Oh, really?
And so the fact that here we had to wait, let me pause the DVR so we can see, we had to wait close to an hour and 40 minutes to finally see Tuunbaq. I'm like, let's get busy. And Tuunbaq, he's having dinner for one. Excuse me, he has dinner of one, and he eats old Gore. R.I.P. Gore. We barely knew ye.
Man, but you know what? He was delicious.
We can assume. And so, listeners, I want to know how you're taking this, because it is this show, what's so funny, on airing on AMC, these kind of scenes between people, that what you would call master and commander drama, to me, it's a bit like the AMC show Mad Men. Like, okay, you've got all these characters who are kind of trapped together in an office on Mad Men on these two ships here in the Terror.
I have to say, I mean, I loved this book when it came out, and I won't get into the issues that I now have with the writer, but I never visualized it as something that would be shot, and I don't understand whose idea was it and who said, yeah, that's a good idea. Because
you mean to make a TV show? Or
to make a TV show out of it.
No, it was first optioned to be a movie. I forget the famous director's name. I'm blanking on it, but a famous director optioned it to be a movie, and now it's become the show.
It could be a good movie, but my concern is, I mean, I don't know who wants. Again, when you read it and you feel the desperation and just how they're all alone and things just get worse and worse. It's gripping, but I don't know how many people in this day and age will find something set, almost 200 years ago, gripping. It's
gotten pretty good reviews so far.
It's gotten good reviews, but I'll be curious to see.
Yeah, I want to know from our listeners. Go to our Facebook page and tell us how you're feeling after these first two episodes.
But not just our listeners. I'd be curious to see how many people actually watch the darn thing.
No, I will too, because like I said, there are moments of this, it feels a bit Mad Men, and then these tense moments.
When they're drinking?
Oh, yeah, that really feels Mad Men. But then there are moments, like the attack by Tuunbaq. Like this section here, where I'm going to go ahead and call her Lady Silence is yelling, "Don't do that to my dad! Don't do that to my dad! Get him out beyond land!" Where it has the tenseness and some of the violence and action of The Walking Dead. So it's
if only she'd lived up to her name.
Oh my Lord! Okay, that was Catfish. On the Double B Bubba Boat, we don't make such cruel jokes about Lady Silence.
Catfish's crew feels people should live up to their names.
This also section, though, where they bring the Eskimo down to the surgery where Mr. Goodsir is going to work on him, that is where you get just more terribleness from, quote-unquote, the old school. Sir John, he looks really uncomfortable. Yeah. He ends up allowing the surgery to go forward, but he's like, as soon as it's over and the guy's died, he's like, get him out of him. JFJ is not cool with it.
And this is where
the other doctor, just not cool.
And this is where we learn, as I said earlier, the a tease of like, okay, somehow Tuunbaq and the Eskimos, interact with each other and have some sort of symbiosis.
Yep. The episode ends where they quiz everybody. Okay, what happened? What happened? What happened? Crozier goes back to his ship. He's allowed Lady Silence to be on his ship. And she gives the heartwarming...
Now she lives up to her name.
She gives up the heartwarming message, get the F out. Maybe they should have named it Get Out. The prequel. Get out the prequel. Get out.
Get the frozen out.
Man, that's cold. Ice cold. All right, Catfish, we got 8 more hours. What are you looking forward to? You were 8 out of 10. That's a pretty good ranking. What are you looking forward to? More misery from these poor frozen bastards. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'd like to sense more of just put these guys in more desperate straits.
Oh, I think it's coming.
And just it doesn't even need to be with good old TB. True,
that's true.
The situation is dire enough. I mean, I do like that supernatural aspect to it. That they sort of are being hunted, etc. And I'd like to see, the breakdown in civility, or the breakdown in the veneer of civility.
Yeah, that's going to be coming. Can't you feel?
I feel it. What about you, Bubba? What do you want?
I want TB,
more TB
all the time. I want TB above the credits.
He's like, forget all the usual deprivations. I just want to eat and bar.
All right, so 8 more hours. Please subscribe and tell your friends about us here on the Double P Podcast Network and Ice Cold. I really think we got some fun episodes coming. I saw one review which was once again really positive, but it said in this day and age, which makes no sense to me, it said, after episode 4. So it said like the last 6 the last 6 were the best. So I don't know. I want to see what you're seeing. I want to see, hopefully you're enjoying it, especially as non-book readers. Write to us and let us know. We're really only doing this podcast to interact with you guys.
Heck yeah, because we care about our people. On Catfish's crew, all are welcome.
On the Double B Bubba boat, let me tell you, it's ice cold all the time. If you're a doctor, if you say you're a doctor, you better be a damn doctor on Bubba's boat. Once again, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter, all sorts of things, at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM, at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
And I'm Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67 on Twitter.
And we are ice cold. TB in the hizzy.
Please, TB, don't hurt him.